Seriously, I'm more worried that something's wrong. He just keeps calling.
Hey, Chad, we're live, buddy.
Hi. How are you?
Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome there in Shiprock land. You have gotten to, you found yourself now at Making Waves. This is episode number 5. So welcome on this lovely Thursday evening. And we are completely stoked to have our guest tonight. The guy is a true original in the metal genre. You guys know him as the voice of Fear Factory and also of his project Ascension of the Watchers. Please, everyone, welcome Burton C. Bell. Thank you, Burton, for coming tonight and joining us on this one.
Nice to see you again, Justin, and thank you for having the Dry Lung Vocal Motor back on your here on your show.
Absolutely. And you guys know Chad, the host of Shiprock here. Guys, if this is your first time on Making Waves, basically we just talked to an artist for about an hour or whenever he's ready to get on with things. And what we want you to do, if you're following along here on Facebook Live in the comment section, please pose your questions and I will pull some of the really good ones for Burton to answer. And, you know, just follow along, and we want to see you guys making some good comments and see how it's going. But other than that, we're going to get on with this. So again, thank you everyone. And Burton, thank you so much. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and let Chad and Burton talk shop for a while.
Hey, Chad.
Hey, buddy. How are you, man?
Great. Nice to know that we're in the same town.
I know. Before we started this live stream, Burton and I figured out that he was just in Michigan, where I live, but currently I'm in Los Angeles, and we're basically down the street from each other.
Exactly.
So where are you from, Burton? I just realized I know where your lady's from. Exactly where she's from now.
I'm originally born and raised in Houston, Texas.
Oh, wow. How long did you live in Houston before you ended up splitting?
Born there and then lived all over the state, but mostly Houston. And then when I was 16, my parents moved to Northern Virginia because my stepfather got a new job, so he was transferred. So we moved to Herndon, Northern Virginia, and I finished my junior and high school year there. Then I went to art school in Washington, D.C. for a year and a half, and then dropped out. And then when I was 20, I moved to L.A. in 1989.
Wow. So you effectively left Texas in the middle of your high school, career, the 4 years you're supposed to there.
Yeah, exactly.
All of that stuff, and then you went to art school. That's for me personally, that's a super. I'm super interested to figure out what drove you to art school. Was it music or was it some fine arts?
I originally was into photography. I'm still into photography, but photography was my first love, next to creative writing. And I got into art school through photography and just paintings and stuff like that. But I was really focused on the creating writing aspect of the art school. And after the first year, it was fun. The first year was great. The foundations year is always fantastic. They just dive you deep into the fundamentals of every type of art. And the photography was, of course, my favorite. But after the first year, I took some advice that I didn't really like, and I shouldn't have taken, but I did anyway, because I took the advice of, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do when you graduate? You're going to be an art teacher? I'm like, I don't want to be an art teacher. So I went into graphic design, and graphic design before computers it was a nightmare.
Like what? Yeah. How did you actually complete a task then? It had to have been like so many steps.
Oh my God. There's too many rules and regulations in graphic design. I hated it. So that was one reason why I dropped out. The other reason was because I was working at a record store to pay for my apartment, and working at the record store was a lot more fun. And then, of course, going out to clubs at night was even more fun than that. So
right.
School was cutting into my leisure time.
Have you seen the movie High Fidelity?
John Cusack.
Yeah, it's my favorite film. And when you mentioned the record store thing, I just pictured a young Burton C. Bell, like Jack Black style.
I was working at a record store much like that one in Washington, D.C.
No shit. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And we were
So
totally like, we were totally those asshole kids too.
yeah.
Your music sucks.
It was about, I used to go into my hometown record store all the time, and it, like the quintessential you know, would be behind the counter, and I would feel so like uneasy about being, you know, myself, like a nerd, because I thought they were so cool. You know, I'd be like scouring through some sort of like weird bootleg section of like Nirvana singles or something like that, and looking at the kid that was like 2 or 3 years older than me at the counter, being like, oh my god, I got it. But so when you
Bert, it's funny to hear you tell your story of going from Texas to DC, because I had the exact same. I had to reverse. I'm a DC kid. My parents moved from Virginia to Texas.
Oh, really?
And my brother was in the middle of high school, and I was just in grade school. But it was just like when they said, "Hey, we're leaving DC and we're going to Texas," it's like, where's Texas? What's Texas?
Texas.
I figured I was going to be East Coast kid my entire life, so I love hearing that story. So, hey, real quick,
DC tattoo right here.
yeah.
love it, man. I want to get an old Washington Bullets tattoo.
Forehead.
So my introduction to you, real quick, is someone who's been following you now going on, geez, I don't even want to say the amount of years, because then we'll date ourselves. But I saw you guys, I was living in Denver, and you guys had just put out Soul New Machine, and you guys were out with Sick of It All and Biohazard.
That was our very first show on that tour.
Dude, I tell you, it was at the Gothic Theater, which is a
Gothic
great,
Theater. And
amazing. So I'm sitting there with my girlfriend, and you guys played your set, and I looked over and I go, holy fuck. I didn't even think about, after that Sick of It All and Biohazard, which were great, I didn't even give them a second thought after that show. So that was my introduction to you guys, and it was just like,
thank you. It was just like, I remember that day. It was we drove all day just to get there from LA. And we were in a panel van. We pulled a mattress off the street to put into the van so we could just sleep on it in our sleeping bags and whatever blankets we had.
Yeah.
So there was 5 of us sharing this mattress like sardines with our gear in the back, driving to Colorado. And I did all of the driving. And we made it to the show. We stayed in some cheap ass motel down the street from the Gothic.
Brave, very brave.
And then we got out of the hotel and hung out at the Denny's, which was kind of across the highway from the Gothic, and hung out there until we could actually go to the Gothic and load in. And then
amazing.
It's like, what's this? And people we get in there like, what's this metal band opening up for hardcore bands? What's going on? Right. But that's a fantastic tour. We learned a lot. I personally learned a lot watching Lou on stage.
Oh, amazing.
One of the best frontmen out there.
Yeah.
Just charismatic and energetic, and he and Pete together, just brothers on stage, was just amazing.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I just wanted to bring up that memory, because that's what, you know, got you guys into my brain. So
wow, that's old school.
Chad,
Burton, do your thing.
My mind is blown of how much of a steel trap memory you had. He brought up that tour, and you're like, that's the first show on that tour. I can't even, of all of the years that Wilson toured, I don't even remember one tour I could tell you where we kicked the tour off at. It was crazy.
It's strange. I have this memory. You know, I wrote down stuff a lot, but I do have this memory. A lot of it was just, I really just stayed with me. And it was like, these experiences were just so incredible.
That must bring you back, with that in mind, bringing you back to your space at the art school and moving forward from there. Was it the creative writing side? I mean, I would assume when you're writing words in a manner like you would be doing at college, which is, you know, an everyday thing that you're essentially being graded upon. Do you think that kind of like parlayed not only your steel trap memory, but also your music career? Is that what first got you started and interested in being in a band?
You know, I moved to LA because one, I wanted to be a writer, and 2, I wanted to be in a band. I loved music. I grew up, you know, loving music. You know, many people have parents who listen to music and are musicians. And my mother was a violin and piano player. My dad he was actually a radio disc jockey for years, and an anchor man in Houston. And he was into country music and classical, and my mom was into classic rock, as they say, and folk music, and so I just enjoyed listening to music. So I listened to pretty much music all the time, and was in church choirs and school choirs. So I just loved singing. But one of the reasons why I moved to LA was, one, I wanted to be a writer.
Can I ask you a little bit more about that? Because I find it so interesting. We all know you. I mean, I know you, and Justin knows you. I'm assuming all of our viewers and listeners know you as the vocalist, the singer, the musician, the artist, Burton C. Bell. But what about the writer? Like, can you tell me maybe how, I guess trying to figure out how to formulate this question, how did you move from creative writing into and utilizing that to find a band, I suppose? Because I'm assuming you went to LA without a band and found that band when you were
right.
here.
Well, I didn't. You're right. I did not have a band. I was in LA for probably 8 months before I found a band to audition for. But I realized that my writing, I wrote a lot of poetry. I wrote a lot of like essay type of E.B. White type of stuff, just very introspective. And I wrote every day. And as I was, my first band, it was called Hay Face. I learned that what I was into, I could really put into the music. I could really use my words, because that's what lyrics are for. Lyrics are essentially poetry put to music. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I can start my writing and still incorporate my writing into the music. And I could express it the way I want to. And so that's what I started doing. And realizing that a lot of my favorite musicians or my favorite vocalists were lyricists. Their lyrics on their own stand on their own. And that's one thing I realized. And so I was like, that's how I really made the move of, I could use this as a stepping stone and as a jumping point to really start my writing career. And so I started writing more and more, and that's when the concept started coming into Fear Factory, the demanufacture era, when the concept really came together. And then the Obsolete record, when I put the story in there, it was more of a kind of a screenplay kind of thing, but it was still story. And it was something I had come up with, and I had the opportunity. It's like, that's what I'm going to use it for.
Still to this day, those two records in particular, they not only do they stand the test of time, because they're futuristic in all of its sense, but your lyrics and your vision, what you put on paper there, and subsequently we listen to today, they now all make all of the sense when I think about you as a writer. And
it's crazy. It's as a writer, of course, just loving books. Grew up loving science fiction. Is one of my favorite genres of novels, and I realized that science fiction writers were pretty much writing about what they see in their time period, and they just really expand upon it further and put into a third person where people don't feel threatened, like it's actually happening. It's like, wow, this is the world we're living in, just a little bit more colorful, as you used to say.
At this point, can we, do you mind if we take the first question? There's not going to be any continuity. These questions are just kind of come at us. So we've got one here from someone who's following, and her name is Sherry Bell.
My wife.
And she wanted to know, what artist would you like to collaborate with?
Oh man, if I had a dream to collaborate with any artist, I would love to collaborate with Willie Nelson.
That's great.
Well, everyone's jaw that's watching right now just kind of hit the floor.
There's a Watchers song off the first record called Moonshine, and I've actually tried to push it. I've actually tried to not sell it, but tried to offer it to Willie Nelson's camp. It's like, I think Willie could really do a great version of the song. I think it would be a perfect song for Willie Nelson to do. So that didn't work. He's not really taking collaborations right now, but Willie Nelson would be one. Nick Cave would be one.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I've collaborated with a lot of great people already. Geezer Butler, that was an amazing collaboration. And being a part of his careers and being part of the Black Sabbath.
GTR, right?
Yeah, being part of the Black Sabbath catalog for the end of time is amazing.
I mean, your rap sheet is. I'm sorry. Is there any more questions, Justin? I have.
No, I'll just intersperse these in. That was I wanted to make sure and get to
Thanks
her.
for the question, babe.
I mean, both of those answers are amazing. But your rap sheet, like you just mentioned, you've collaborated with a lot of people and you've been a part of a lot of different projects. When you got here to Los Angeles, and you what was the first band you said you joined called?
And we started the first band was Hate Face.
Age Face. So after that, I would assume Fear Factory, or was members of that band part of Fear Factory?
Fear Factory.
Okay. So then would it be the next space you went into as a musician would be Fear Factory?
Yes. So Hate Face, we lasted about 8 months and we played quite a few shows. And, we lost Chad. We played it.
It's Chad and his GoPro.
We played quite a few shows in the LA area. We even played live on KXLU. I think it was the Psychotechnics Hour with Jason Bentley. And when he was on KXLU.
Bentley, the DJ, right?
Yeah, he used to be on KXLU when he was a student there.
Oh, wow.
So we played live on there, and that was actually our only demo. But we had this one show booked at Raji's, the original Raji's. And our bass player suddenly goes, well, his name was Scott Russo. He goes, well, I'm going to Israel for a few months, so I can't do that show. Like, what? So we decided to do the show anyway, but under a different name. And so the house I was living in LA was in Hollywood. And the band, Hate Face guys, the drummer and the guitar player, David, the guitar player, and drummer Alex, we all lived together in the same house. And in this house, Dino lived as well. He lived in the upstairs. So Dino was coming to our shows. And when we couldn't do, when Scott wasn't going to come do the last show, it's like, okay, well, let's just create another band and do the show anyway. So we wrote like one song, which was actually Big God. It was like the primordial version of the song Big God.
Okay.
Dino and I were both into Godflesh, and we played the show under a name called Ulceration, and that was Ulceration's only show. And after that, Hey Face just disbanded, and I started working with Dino. We started working and found a new band.
And did you guys know at the time that the music you were making was going to be quite groundbreaking? I mean, we knew we already had Ministry and bands like that, but they were still considered more, obviously, because of Al's past being more industrial and you guys are more on the metal edge of things. But I mean, everything from your vocal presence, where this, you have the guttural, then you go this really wonderful harmonic, which is now employed by everyone from Killswitch to Soilwork.
Yeah.
So you definitely had a massive influence on people. I mean, when you're starting out with a band like that and you're doing Soul New Machine, and then you guys really find it with Deep Manufacturer, do you guys know at that point as an artist, man, we're really onto something that has not been done?
Well, it was all an evolution, right? And just the writing process was, first of all, Soul of New Machine was an evolution of learning how to write, learning how to arrange, learning how to perform, and finding our space and learning how to perfect what we do. And it was on that record. It wasn't for a while. It wasn't until like 6 songs in that we were writing till that vocal style actually came in, when one day we were at rehearsal just jamming or whatever, and Dino was playing this riff, and out of the blue I wanted to emulate one of my favorite vocalists, Justin Broderick from Godflesh.
Oh yes.
So instead of like doing a moan kind of thing, mine came out more like a singing, more of a choir, and I was going through a delay pedal, and it was just to affect it. It sounded really like textured, and it just sounded really angelic. And Dino's playing this riff, and then all of a sudden this sound coming out of my microphone through my microphone, and Dino's like, "Stop everything!" He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Singing." He goes, "Oh, keep doing that." And so we just started incorporating a song, which the first song we actually wrote together was Big God.
Hmm.
And from Ulceration, I incorporated into the Fear Factory song. So we just started using it more. And yeah, everything was just an evolution. We were all fans of, I was more of a fan of like the goth and the industrial, and Raymond was more of a fan of thrash and death metal, and Dino was a fan of all of it. So it was all just coming together, and we were just adding things that we liked. We were all into Ministry. Ministry was one thing that really brought us together, and there was early rave music. It's like for remixes and stuff. That was one of the things that we wanted to incorporate. So Martyr, the introduction to Martyr, the tambourine, it's a total rave thing.
Yeah, you're total. I mean, obviously you're right, but now that I'm thinking about that song and that time of listening to that song, when you mentioned Ministry, did you pull a lot of influence at that point in time from the band Ministry? And I know that you were a guest on some of the records too. So was it I
was definitely a huge fan of Ministry back then, still am, and we weren't trying to pull in a lot of influences, but we definitely wanted to try and achieve the same things they did, like remixes, and try and make their music more a little heavier. So there were a lot of inspiration from them, like a lot of other bands. It's just like we just kind of brought it all together to make this evolution that became Fear Factory.
Yeah, you guys are definitely one of those bands you guys have both embraced industrial, but industrial genre has definitely embraced you, whether it's Frontline Assembly guys or whoever. So
yeah,
it was always really cool seeing you guys kind of walk that line. And again, it just added more to what you guys were doing as far as original content.
And added a lot of depth to the band, and added a lot of different opportunities for us to play with different types of bands. I mean, we've toured with, like hardcore bands, we've toured with industrial bands, we've toured with death metal bands, we've toured with goth bands through our entire career. And all the fans of every genre seem to embrace it.
Little effect. Little
Remix.
Hey, so let me ask another quick question. And this is something I think you and I spoke about quickly. One of our guys, Jefferson, he wants to know if there's going to be another City of Fire record.
Oh, man. No. We did 2 albums. The first one, self-titled City of Fire, and then the second one, Trial Through Fire. And neither of them are available as far as I know.
Oh, God.
I had a lot of fun doing those albums.
Yeah, I got hold of the first one, and that was bad. It was tough to find the other stuff. So Jefferson, there you go. There's your answer from Burton on that.
Justin, I'll send you the second one.
Oh, wonderful. Jefferson, no, dude, if you're into that, make sure and check out obviously Ascension of the Watchers. And if you know City of Fire, you probably know that Burton's doing Ascension. So thank you, my friend. Thanks, Burton. I appreciate you answering that question.
No worries. Yeah, Ascension of the Watchers has been around since I started that in 2002.
Yeah, you're quite prolific with the stuff you're working on. So yeah.
I was going to ask you, moving into that Ascension of the Watchers, you did that record in Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania, or was one of the members? Okay, so did you like leave Los Angeles for a while and then started to do that, or was it just did you think it was something you wanted to do and find the players, or did the players come to you, or how did this all work out?
So in 2002, I had come to a point in my life I had to do something really I wanted to do something personal. I was searching for something, as they say.
Yeah.
So in 2002, after the Digimortal whole album cycle, I took a break. So I drove from Los Angeles to Pennsylvania to work with our keyboard player at the time, John Bechtel, who's now in Ministry. But John Bechtel was the keyboardist for Fear Factory. Before that, he was the keyboardist for Murder Inc. and Prong and Killing Joke.
Oh, I did not know that.
So we, on tours, we would share rooms, and we became really good friends. And we had very similar taste in music. We actually had a very almost exact taste in music. I learned a lot from him, his stories, and he's a he's a virtuoso. He can play anything. And so he had a studio, still does, in Pennsylvania. So I wanted to go to a place that was remote where I could get alone with just me and the music ideas I had. So I went to California with a bag of clothes, guitar, and some guitar equipment, and just camped out in his studio for months. And there we started developing the Watchers. It started becoming the Watchers. And then we did a demo. For like 6 months, we recorded 5 songs, just developing the ideas and seeing where we wanted to go and where I wanted to take the music. And that's in 2002. So 2004, I released Iconoclasts, which was a self-released EP that I had made up, just 1,000 pieces of CD and 500 vinyl.
Wow. Is it still available at all, like physical copies?
I only have 70 pieces of vinyl left.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did everybody hear that? Are they online?
Yeah, available at
Guys, go out and buy it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Only available at burtoncbell.com.
You were there for a few months and made the record, and then where did your travels take you after that?
So I ended up, I fell in love with Pennsylvania. After living in LA for from 89 to 2002, I had enough of the big city. I fell in love with the area of Pennsylvania, and my life started changing. Started a family, and just moved out there for a while. And that's when I just kept working with John, and then John got the gig with Ministry, and because of John,
right? Sorry.
Huh?
Fear Factory was on complete hiatus at that
Fear
point.
Factory was still. I made life choices, so I was still working with Fear Factory at the time.
Gotcha.
In 2005, Archetype came out, and then 2007, Transgression came out. And it was after that I took another break and did the next Watchers album with a full-length record on 13th Planet with Al Jurgensen's label.
Nice.
And we did a full-length record with new songs. We recorded the older songs, and that was called Numinosum.
So you were really
I was going to say that's where a lot of your, obviously your goth and more singer-songwriter influences definitely show through. There's not a Fear Factory on there. And
no,
it's a very inspiring album. And go back to the song Moonshine. I think you and I had a discussion about that on the original version of Moonshine.
Yeah,
that was one of the songs where I was going through a time in my life, and I really needed that song to find me, and that's the one I came upon. And it was amazing song. And I hope everyone goes out there and checks out that album, because it's if you want a good Friday night album, it's there for you.
I think it's available on Spotify.
Yeah, it's available on. I'm looking on iTunes right now.
But it's a great. It's don't expect Fear Factory, because it's nothing like it. But it's my voice.
Yes.
It's all singing, and it's very textured. It's very has a very 80s sound to it, which I love. So it's ethereal, ambient, just experimental.
Did you do that with John as well, or in Pennsylvania, or is that done somewhere else?
I'm sorry.
I said, did you end up doing the full length with John in Pennsylvania as well, or did you go somewhere else for that record?
We recorded that at Al's studio in El Paso.
Gotcha. Oh, so back to Texas. All right.
Back to Texas. El Paso, the most West Texas you can get.
Hey, we had another question, Burton, and this goes back to more of your writing process, and it's from Sandy. I guess you know her maybe as Sanity. Do you know this person?
Sanity sounds familiar.
Her name's Sandy, but I guess she goes by Sanity. It must be some sort of inside thing. But she wants to know, when you're doing your writing process, what's the one thing you like about the most, and what's your least favorite part of writing?
The best part, I love writing. I love coming up with the riffs or the piano parts, because for the most part, I come up with all the music on the Watchers albums. So it either comes from a guitar or piano. Mostly the new records, both half and half, guitar and piano. But I love sitting, just coming up with the melody and playing it over, and then playing the melody over and over again, and just coming up with the arrangement, because that's when I'm really feeling it. Whatever I'm feeling at the time is coming through my fingers, literally playing through my soul, strumming the guitar. The vibrations are expressing exactly how I'm feeling. Same with the piano. I sitting in front of the upright, the chords are just resonating through me, and that's where I'm feeling. That's where the best. I'm just getting chills thinking about it right now. Just the chords and the vibrations all connecting and humming at the same time.
That's great. Great answer. Yeah.
And and at that time, I already have an idea of what I want the song to be about. No title, sometimes it has a title, sometimes it has a working title, but I already know what the song is about, and that's where the whole process of writing the song is about, that feeling, about that moment. So each song is literally a chapter in time, and recording it is even more fun. And so it's because it's just developing each part, working the sounds in, having John come in and doing counter melodies, just coming up with the beats, and just how is this going to sound. The creation process is just great all the way through. And oddly enough, the most unfavorite part of it is doing vocals.
As a singer, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All the other stuff's easy. Doing the vocals is the hardest part.
You just got me so jacked, like listening to you get so jacked about
Right?
writing.
I can imagine just like being a musician and being inspired by what you just said. That's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. It's true. As a musician, as a writer, writing the music, that's the best part about it. That's why we are musicians, is to feel that, to express your soul through the chords of music.
Do you prefer to be alone when you're writing, or do you like to be around? There's co-writing obviously when you're writing with your band members or other people or whatever. But are you one of those guys that prefers to like shut the door for a couple of weeks and just hammer in, or you kind of take a moment away from each day and dedicate it? It sounds to me like you're very precise when you have the idea in your head. You go to work.
It's hard to dictate inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And so it usually comes to me. I won't lock myself up somewhere, but usually I am by myself. It's usually late at night. It's dark, and I'm alone with my thoughts, strumming guitar or playing the piano, and that's when I can think clearly and just start playing around, and just the chords just start coming to me. And that's, being alone is when it usually happens. I've never, it's when I have the idea, I work the idea for a while. I will have the arrange, like a very rudimentary arrangement for it. And that's when I take it. It's like, okay, I have this idea, John, let's record this, and we can start building on this.
Yeah, I mean, the process of it, to me, what you're describing is similar to something I do myself, but it's always weird when you have to, I don't know, you're a family man, you're at home, you have a girl, right? There's all these things going around. Particularly, I guess, let's move into the state of the world that we're in right now. How are you able to follow, and are you following those rules that you've set up for yourself as far as when inspiration strikes? Let's move forward through it, push through it. Are you okay during this time right now to do that, or?
I've only written I have this one idea, a musical idea on piano that I've kind of found again. I lost it. I had recorded on my phone, and then I saw it again. I was like, oh man, that's pretty good. I had to relearn it, but not much music during this pandemic. But I started doing a lot of writing, and I started doing the story for the next Watchers album, which is not going to be on the album. The story's not going to be in the album. I have another idea for it afterwards, but it's more of the new album's called Apocrypha, and Apocrypha is secret writings, and so these are like very inspired by the Book of Enoch from the Dead Sea Scrolls, where just, texts and chapters of moments of history and my history, really. So it's kind of true stories, some embellished
Yeah.
into a third person kind of thing. So it really comes around as the inspiration really started coming for writing for me on that.
That's awesome.
The Book of Enoch, you're doing a extremely deep dive there. Let's focus on your lyrics for a second. And Chad brought it up earlier. It's funny, the world we're living in now is that you guys are almost cryptic in the fact that you wrote these songs some 15, 20 years ago for like Securitron or Fear Campaign, and those things have actually come to light. That's what we're living. That's the reality we're living in. Did you ever think in your life that, because when any fan years ago to read that and go, man, that's cool Philip Dick book or whatever, where he's getting this from, and then you go, wait a minute, holy shit, this is now.
Well, it's like, for instance, Demanufacture.
Yeah.
That was happening at that moment. Demanufacture was written during the LA riots, that whole time period, the Rodney King beating, the Rodney King trial, then the Rodney King riots. The day the riots started, it was just me, Raymond, and Dino in the band, and we didn't have a bass player. And we were doing a photo shoot in South Central LA, literally 2 blocks away from Florence and Normandy. And it was Joe Garone was the photographer, and we were doing a photo shoot in some kind of abandoned warehouse. It was just a total mess. And so it was like perfect for an industrial metal band that we wanted to be. Yeah. So we were doing that. And as we were driving away, done with the day, the verdicts were coming in, and we were literally driving through Florence and Normandy as people started to congregate on the corners there.
You're like, hit the gas, go.
So, but that was Soul in a Machine. But that was very inspired. That's what inspired the way the Demanufacture moved, because it was during those riots that the National Guard was brought in. Mm-hmm. And where we lived in Hollywood, there was a tank in the parking lot of 7-Eleven. There was at the end of the street was some high-end automobile store, sold Lamborghinis and stuff. And the guys who owned the place were literally on top of their building with AK-47s and submachine guns, keeping people away. The Pier 1 right behind our house got busted into, looted. So we were right behind. That was all within 100 feet of where we were living at the time together. Mm-hmm. So, and then the OJ riots, the OJ thing happened, and that was just another complete insanity of injustice.
Yeah.
And you could feel the tension in the air. You could just feel it. It was just, wherever you go, you just feel the tension from everybody. And to me, that's the world we were living in. Demanufacture. The world was being deconstructed before our eyes.
Yeah. So basically your albums 20 years on have a ton of relevancy, which, for good or ill, that's still so damned impressive.
Yeah, it's obsolete even more so.
Yeah.
It's just, I never thought any of that would come true. Mm-hmm. And to me, there's a lot more that can still happen. It's like, yeah. Just wait, you think it's worse now? We're not doing that now. Just wait another few months. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, at some point you're going to have more material for a future Fear Factory album. Real quick, this is kind of another one of our viewers here named Brody Bill. Any relation?
Brodyville? No, maybe.
Anyway, Brody seems to be, I think Brody's Australian. So if you got any Australian kin, there you go. He just wants to know, when you're all your touring years, is there a favorite country that you ever toured?
Well, I do. I love touring in general. There's a lot of great places to tour, a lot of crappy places to tour. Don't get me wrong. Sure. There's a lot of memorable places, but since he's from Australia, I have to admit that Australia was one of the places I always wanted to go to as a child. I remember as growing up, I wanted my mom to send me to boarding school in Australia.
Wow.
It's like, because
All order.
yeah, it never happened. But you know, I just wanted to go there so badly because it just seemed like a whole, back then it was just like a whole new world. And so the first time we toured there was 93, end of 93. And I knew I was going to stay. So I had managed to talk to the promoter who was touring with us as a tour tour manager, and befriended him. And I told him I want to stay. And he goes, okay. So everyone else left, and we extended my visa, and I went back to Perth with him, and stayed for another 2-3 months. Just traveling the country. I went from Esperance all the way up to Darwin in a van driving. So it was one of the most best experiences I ever had. Seen a lot of cool stuff. But I love Spain. I love Germany. I think that's why I love Pennsylvania so much. It reminds me of Germany.
Really? Where were you? What was it? I think Mifflinville or something. Where?
Well, it's Mifflinburg.
Mifflinburg.
That's where John lives, and that's where my children still live, in Milton, which is about 20 miles away from John on the Susquehanna River, right off of Interstate 80, about 2.5 miles outside of New York. And Milton, Pennsylvania is the home of Chef Boyardee.
Wow. I am hungry. That's made me hungry. Hey,
Chad, real quick, I wanted to sneak these questions in since we're kind of on a favorite scheme here. Dana wants to know what your favorite film score is.
Wow.
Off the top of my head is Vangelis version of Vangelis Blade Runner.
Solid.
That's I still listen to that frequently.
There you go, Dana. Go check out Blade Runner again. You hear Burton's favorite score.
Vangelis, not the London Symphony Orchestra. There's two different versions. They released the London Symphony Orchestra second.
What's the one that's on the soundtrack, the Vangelis one, or you have to get the Vangelis album in order to get that?
No, you can get the Vangelis one now.
Okay, all right. There you go, Dana. And the other one was from Chris. She wants to know what was your first concert and what was your favorite concert as a fan.
Oh, okay. So
come on, man. What's that first
concert? I was in 8th grade, and living in Houston. So it was what, 13? 13 maybe. And my brother and I have a twin brother who's also a musician. He and I were big fans of a band called Air Supply. So dude, they were playing.
That's not even
playing Astro World.
Oh, no.
Astro World,
which is 6. You remember Astro World?
Well, not the Travis Scott Astro World, but Astro World, the amusement park.
Astro World, Houston, Texas. There was just a family amusement park with the Cyclone roller coaster.
Absolutely.
And so they played outdoors in the Astro World field on some kind of they turned the stage into some moonscape. They're all wearing different colored jumpsuits, and the laser show was amazing. And
well, yeah, it was.
And my brother and I had enough money. I'm like, I'm laughing. Had enough money between the two of us to buy one shirt.
A size large. We'll keep it in the middle.
So we traded days wearing it.
That's awesome.
Well, the funny thing is, though, as a vocalist, though, you have to give props to those guys because those harmonies and everything are just pristine to this day.
Oh man, classic songs. Classic songs, beautiful songs, very, don't laugh, or you can go ahead and laugh.
No, dude, listen.
A lot of influence in Air Supply in my music.
Listen, dude, especially with Ascension, I could see it totally. And anyone that says they don't have 2 or 3 of those bad boys jacked up on their favorites list is a complete liar.
Well, even in Fear Factory, the vocals, all my vocals are inspired by bands I've been influenced by.
The Russells of Air Supply.
Dude, harmonies, Piss Christ, Zero Signal, Total air supply.
All right, I'm gonna go check Zero Signal after this and go, where's that air supply?
What was the second part to the question?
Your your favorite concert.
Favorite concert I've ever seen? Well, I've seen
First concert's Air Supply. What was your favorite concert?
I think even though I've seen Nick Cave a few times, great concerts all the time, but I think the one concert that really just blew me away was one on tour. We were maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit 10, 12 years ago. We were in Belgium playing a festival and Massive Attack headlined. Oh. And Fear Factory was there, Ministry was there, and Backyard Babies, and but Massive Attack was headlining, and I had some mushrooms with me. So John was there. I go, John, we're gonna eat some mushrooms. We're gonna go watch Massive Attack. So half an hour before Massive Attack started, we ate these mushrooms and we started walking. We walked our way through the entire crowd, just a sea of people, just a beautiful Belgian night. You know, the sun was setting, and just we walked. I love seeing shows right in front of the sound booth. That's where it sounds the best. Yeah. We walked right to the front of it, great view, and the bass just comes up from the bottom of the earth, just right through my feet. And I'm just feeling the people just moving like waves, and the light show was just amazing. I got a lot of good shows. A lot of them were festival shows. I remember sometimes they're drug related, but this one, the second time we played the Dynamo Festival in Holland, yeah. I was doing some acid, and while Typo Negative was playing during the sunset, I was climbing up the lighting rig, and I was hanging above them in the lighting rig, watching them play on acid, watching them do Summer Breeze as the sun is setting. Oh God, I remember it was amazing.
Back to the Massive Attack. Being on mushrooms and listening to stuff from Mezzanine, that'll raise you off the ground, man. That's levitation.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite shows ever.
Chris, there you go. You got a hell of a good. Those are two great stories behind his favorite shows. So thank you, Chris. Thanks, Burton. Those are great.
Yeah, I could just go on forever with stories. I'm like Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, I got a question for you then. So all these favorites, as a touring musician, what was your favorite tour? What has been your favorite tour, like ever of all the tours?
It was opening up for Sepultura in 1994.
Okay.
SAD tour. And it was Fear Factory, Clutch, Fudge Tunnel, and Sepultura. And man, every band was on fire. Clutch was amazing. Became really good friends with those guys. Fudge Tunnel was I was already a big fan of Fudge Tunnel, which was Alex Newport's band, who Max did Nail Bomb with. But Fudge Tunnel was an earache band that I was really into. It was like pre-grunge, but it was like so heavy. It was just so amazing. They did a version of Sunshine of My Love, which is still probably the best. Now, I love it better than the original.
I was gonna say that seems like one artist you would have probably worked with was Alex.
I would have loved to, but we never did.
So was that tour a long one? Did you guys go to multiple continents?
No, it was just in the States. It was like 3 months through the States. It's a lot of shows. Nearly killed us. we were touring in a 1986 Allegra RV.
Nice.
Came basically popping on 6 wheels. And there was seven big dudes on this RV. And I was doing most of the driving. But first of all, having just like a toilet in an RV where like 7 dudes are just drinking all the time, it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only number ones, babe. Only number ones. Or pull down the window.
Oh man, we blew like 4 tires on that tour, and every time I had to change the tire because no one knew else how to do it. So I was changing the tire, and every time I was underneath the RV, just praying it would land on me. Just crush me now.
Oh my God, that's awful, but also hilarious.
The road is so glamorous.
Oh yeah, they have no idea.
Oh, it's crazy. So let's focus real quick, Chad and Bert. Let's focus on Shiprock here for a minute. You were obviously a stowaway this year and things. And I'll tell you, when Danny presented the list to who was going to be stowaways, and I saw your name, I swear to God, I had to do a triple take. And I was completely stoked. So tell us about your Shiprock experience.
Well, Shiprock was pretty incredible. It's the third time I've done a cruise, but it's the first time I was actually like an artist on my own, and it was, fantastic. I was introduced to a whole like different genres. Of course, I knew people on there. There's a lot of people I knew on there, and met a lot of great people. But the experience was just amazing. A lot of cool bands. Living Color, what an amazing band. Vernon Reed, just the quintessential musician, and Corey, just an incredible human being. Just everyone was just super cool. Everyone on the whole ship, just super cool. It's just like being backstage at a festival constantly. The positive nature of everyone, just so awesome. And yeah, they might have been drunk a lot, which is fine, but I was too. When I wasn't going to be working, I was sober the days I was working until after I worked, and then that all changed. But man, what incredible experience. I would love to do it again with if I could get the Watchers on there, I would totally do a goth night or something there.
Alan, you're watching this, so you just heard Burton. You just heard what he said. Well, I'll nudge him. What was your experience like with them, with the Shiprockers themselves, the fans?
They're really cool. Very, a lot of them didn't have any idea who I was. A few of them did. They were very open and very happy to see me. And after I did my performance, they just really enjoyed it. They're like, man, that was great. It was, never heard of you before. I'm gonna check you out now. And just like everyone was just super cool. And just one of the best experiences I ever had.
And that's to mention that they'll check you out, and they will check you out because they are super open-minded, super opinionated, but they're super knowledgeable about music. I mean, I'm sure a few people who came up to you probably own everything you've ever put out by now. Yeah,
there was a few people that did have I'm a huge fan, and there was a few people like, I've never heard of you before, but I'm a fan now.
Yeah, very open. Absolutely. And, it was funny because I was talking to Randy Weitzel after I
I love that guy.
Randy did Edge Crusher with you.
Yeah, everyone who played with me just kicked it. Kicked the ass. It was just
it's obviously a trip for those guys because Burton, you've been around, and you're a favorite for a lot of these newer musicians, and obviously in this moment, and those guys have been around a long time too. But it's always cool to hear when other musicians go, "Fuck, man, I'm gonna play with so and so," and it's really cool to hear that because I just love the fact at the end of the day everyone's a fan.
I had a great time. Everyone was a great, very professional. Yeah. Just was there to have fun. Yeah. And and that was the best part about it. Everyone was like, we're gonna play the best we can, and it's you're playing on a boat outside. How great is it gonna be? But it was actually pretty damn good. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Hey, I didn't catch it. What was your dad joke?
My dad joke?
Did you have a dad joke? Do you have a Michael Jackson joke?
Oh, I got a couple. I got a Michael Jackson joke.
Well, let's hear it anyway. Because I think you told one, and I just didn't catch the.
The Michael Jackson joke was, what do McDonald's hamburgers and Michael Jackson have in common?
What?
50-year-old meat between 5-year-old buns. Terrible.
Well, we're gonna leave that one there.
Here's a healthy dad joke.
Oh, yeah? Absolutely.
What did 0 say to 8?
What?
Nice belt.
That was not what I was
about it.
That's pure gold. Visualize that.
Musicians want to be comedians, and comedians want to be musicians.
1,000%.
You're 100% right. And
I'm neither, so I'm just a hack at both of them.
Oh.
Man,
self-deprecation.
So let's move on to Ascension and the new material. You get the new album coming out this fall.
Yep, October 9th, Ascension of the Watchers, new album called Apocrypha is being released through Dissonance worldwide. And there are pre-order links on my Instagram page and the Watchers Instagram page and Facebook, and also Dissonance, DISSONANCE. So you can pre-order it. But yeah, this album has been 10 years in the making since the last album came out in 2008. And the whole time I've been, trying to find the right place to record it, and trying to find the right outlet. And everything really this whole record really started to come to fruition, really started to come together when my friend Jace Lewis, who's Welsh and an artist in his own, a very well-renowned artist in his own right. He's toured with Gary Newman a lot. He's put out his own solo records. He's very well known in that scene. Has his own studio in Wales, and I had the opportunity to visit him in Wales 3 or 4 years ago, and I brought my guitar, and he has what he calls a modern analog studio, and it's in South Wales, connected to a 250-year-old manor in the countryside, beautiful rolling hills of Wales, and it was beautiful, and it was just one of those perfect settings. And we tested. So I had a guitar with me, so I had 2 ideas I wanted to record with him. So I recorded a song called Ghost Heart, or demoed a song called Ghost Heart, and I demoed a song called The End Is Always the Beginning. And we just started building on those songs, and we did vocals and just kind of started building. I was there for 2 weeks, recorded 2 songs, and we've been built those songs, and was like, hey, let's do the whole record. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we did a Pledge Music campaign, which was bittersweet because it's successful, but it wasn't because Pledge Music went bankrupt. So it was a horrible situation for a lot of bands, but it helped us able to record the album. And so
you got your phone, right? They didn't like.
No.
Oh shit.
Is this album going to kind of follow in the same lines as the last one, as far as like the music itself, or are you changing up kind of like your themes or just the sound? Or
the theme is the same. The themes are the same. It was all the Ascension of the Watchers. The Watchers was all based. The Watchers based upon the Book of Enoch, because the Watchers came down from heaven. So the idea of the Watchers is always the songs of one Watcher pleading and to return to heaven, and because the Watchers have been banished from heaven for all of eternity, so he's pleading to his true love to come back to heaven. So it's all about that. So it's but the sound, the production quality, it's to me it's far more the whole concept is really visualized on this album for the Ascension of the Watchers, for concept and lyrical and sound. It's just the production is immense. So it sounds way different, but has the same quality of music, same type of style. Every song is different, very, very ambient, some ethereal, just, beautiful, a lot of just just it's hard to explain, but it's just the production is very, very on top. And Chase made that happen. He's a up and coming producer.
Man, I'm excited to hear
And now he's the drummer of Ascension of the Watchers.
You win and you win. That's great.
Right. So people out there that are watching along, fans of Burton, you guys can understand that, again, Ascensions is pretty far away from Fear Factory, but it's still story-based like Fear Factory. So I think
you'll hear a lot of similarities in this new record, where it's like, it's familiar, but it's not Fear Factory.
Yeah. Well, I think when you apply your voice to anything, people are always going to,
well, thanks.
That memory imprint, no pun intended.
Well, no. Well, that's one thing. Chase helped me found the voice that kind of buried. I was sort of repressed for a long time to keep this goth voice kind of that I have, this voice that I used a lot on GZR, the voice I used a lot on Demanufactured and Obsolete, that really did kind of deviated from a lot, pressed for productions or whatever. But Chase helped bring the sound of my voice back, and so it's a very resonant tone in my voice that is very familiar.
That's awesome.
Hey, we had a couple questions, two more questions, if you don't mind, Burton. Is that cool?
I don't mind at all.
All right. One of them is Scott wants to know, has Monolith been scrapped?
No.
No. There you go. Scott, there you go. No. And secondly, is there going to be another graphic novel from you?
Yes. Working on the second, still working on I'm trying to find an artist for the second Industrialist, the follow-up to the Industrialist, which will be the Industrialist, the end of line. Still looking for an artist that wants to work with me. And the other one's going to be the Ascension of the Watchers Apocrypha of Stormcrow.
Jesus, God, you got so much going on. So Scott, no, hasn't been scrapped. And I'm not going to say who asked the graphic novel question because she resides in your house. But it's good. People need to know this information. Yes, another graphic novel will be coming out, and then also one for the Ascension project. Chad, did you have anything to finish up? We've had Burton here for over an hour, and I could go another hour, quite honestly.
We've been talking for over an hour?
Yeah, you know that?
Gave me telling stories. I can just go on for hours.
I'm enthralled by your life, man. I can't. I'm going to send you a follow-up email, and I want to hear more about your writing career and all of that. I mean, it's really inspiring. I want to say thanks for having a moment.
Email me anytime, Chad. We're in the same town. Let's connect during the pandemic.
Yeah, man. I have nothing else to ask for. I mean, I'm a huge fan, and I'm just excited to be a part of you. And thanks for giving us the time. My
pleasure. Appreciate you being a fan, and just appreciate you just being so. You and Justin are some of the coolest people I've ever met.
Oh,
well, hey, I take it to heart. Thanks, Burton. We really appreciate that.
Ever since I met Justin on the cruise, and
I know I felt like I was like, I got him in a car on the beach.
I kind of have like a man crush on you.
Hey, there we go. Feelings mutual. But before we sign off, guys, there's Shiprocked. If you guys are interested in picking up any of Burton's either swag or pre-ordering the album or getting some of his other albums, obviously you can always go to any of the services like Amazon and things like that to pick up the old Fear Factory stuff. But if you're looking for some of the newer stuff, go to burtoncbell.com. We also have a link up now for Plastic Head merch, which actually has the stuff for the new album up pre-sale. And then also Ascension of the Watchers right now. That page is still in progress, but there is a splash page. We'll get you all the information about the new record.
And, we're trying to book a tour as soon as they can book tours, really. Just everyone's in the same boat. No,
absolutely.
Intended, but.
But Burton, man, listen, this has been an absolute pleasure. You, seriously, my friend, are a true original.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
And, we appreciate what you're doing, and just to watch your evolution as an artist has been a lot of fun.
Thank you, and I will continue to evolve.
So everyone who's paid attention tonight, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your Thursday with us. We'll definitely have a Making Waves #6 coming up at some point. And again, look for all of Burton's work, especially the Ascension stuff that's coming out this fall. Buy it for Christmas for everyone,
Yeah, perfect time. Perfect time for Christmas.
Best of the family, and we'll get through this all together at some point. So,
welcome, guys. Chad, you be well.
See you in Waterford.
See you in Waterford. See you, Justin.
We'll talk soon, buddy. Okay.
All right. Peace.